So, how I line my mold is with parchment paper. I'm trying really hard not to show you what brand, but any old parchment paper will do. And every time I make a soap in my loaf mold, I have to do this. I measure out the appropriate length of parchment. Some brands of parchment have a grid, and that does work for mine, but this brand doesn't. So, get out my trusty ruler, measure the appropriate number of inches, mark the paper. If I don't have a straight edge, I'll make one because, yes, we cook with the same parchment paper. But just get a pair of scissors and cut this to size. Try to be straight, but if you're not, always err on the side of having it too big. That'd be better than too little. So let me grab my trusty mold. This is the beginning mold. My husband made this for me out of some scrap wood out in his shop. And it makes anywhere from 1/2 pound to 5 pounds of soap. Just have to use his handy dandy adjustment slide. But I usually leave it set at a 3-pound loaf because that's the size I prefer to make. And that's what this is set to right now. So I just fold my measured parchment into here. And then I have a little paring knife. Once I get it folded in there, I will cut the excess off. But you don't throw away that excess, and I'll show you why here in a second. I will warn you, one time I cut myself pretty good. So be careful. Just give that a nice slice. Take off that extra. Get the one out of the loaf. And here you see this is the extra parchment. So I'm going to rip that in half over the counter edge. See? 2 pieces from that. Here you fold a nice clean edge on it and then line it up with the interior. Press your finger against the other side to make a line so you know where to fold, and fold again. Then you're going to fold up the bottom. Just make sure you leave enough to have some hanging over the top. So a nice crisp fold on the bottom, and put this in your end and press it down pretty well and crease it to the top. And you'll repeat the same thing on the other side. Give yourself a nice crisp edge. And then measure across, press in a crease, fold it, fold up the bottom. Of course, you want the folded edges on the outside, and press that into the other end of the loaf mold. There are a lot of people that can do this with one piece of parchment. I am not one of those people. And yes, you're probably thinking, I bet that leaks. It can. If I don't have my trace thick enough, I'll get some soap leakage, but I have to degrease this loaf mold pretty frequently anyway because this is an oily process. So it doesn't bother me too much if a little bit of soap leaks out the bottom. So we're just putting the original larger piece back in and creasing it really well so it'll stay put. Sometimes I do have to clip it, but most of the time, with good creases, it will stay. And there it is, a lined wooden mold.